Hello, yes, and welcome to our Objective 12 notes. Objective 12 saying I can graph a linear function and identify the graph's components. This is a huge part of Algebra 1, being able to graph lines, being able to work with linear functions, being able to understand what's going on, finding intercepts, all of that being involved, and we're going to do that today. So the first form we're going to look at is slope-intercept form, which is written here, y equals mx plus b. Now, x and y are our normal variables. M and b represent two values that are really important in slope-intercept form. First, m represents the slope of the line, and b represents the y-intercept. Now, the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. All right, slope is what we've been working on. So let's go ahead and use this idea, y equals mx plus b, and we'll graph a couple lines right at the top. All right, so state the slope and y-intercept of the following lines, graph on the coordinate planes provided. So y equals 3x minus 4. That tells me 3 right here is my slope, my m value. My y-intercept is negative 4. Now, couple things we need to know. Slope we can write just as the value that is given. Y-intercept, remember, is a coordinate pair, so we need to be able to write that as a coordinate pair. So negative 4 would be the coordinate point 0, comma, negative 4. All right, because the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. That'd be this point here, negative 4. And then my slope of 3 tells me up 3, right 1, up 3, right 1, up 3, right 1. And then I'm just going to connect these dots to draw my line. There we go. Fantastic. All right, looking at letter B, y equals negative 1/2 x minus 1. So in this one, my slope would be negative 1/2. My y-intercept would be the coordinate 0, comma, negative 1. All right. So 0, comma, negative 1 is right here. That slope of negative 1/2 tells me down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. Oh, goodness. What am I doing? Down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. We got up 1, left 2. Up 1, left 2. Up 1, left 2. And we can connect the dots to draw our... Ooh, it's going to be a challenge for me today with all these lines I got to draw. There we go. Connect the dots, draw the lines like so. And that is y equals negative 1/2 x minus 1. Now looking at letter C, y equals negative x plus 5. All right, so my slope for this one would be negative 1. My y-intercept would be 5, so I would write that as 0, comma 5. And that slope of negative 1 tells me down 1, right 1, 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 up 1, left 1. And I can connect my dots to create my linear equation, y equals negative x plus 5. All right, so in addition to just graphing lines, there's going to be a little bit more that we need to do, and that's find the x and y-intercepts of the graph. To algebraically find the x-intercept of the graph, all we do is set y equal to 0 and solve for x, and of course be sure to write our answer as a coordinate pair. And that'll be our x-intercepts. Now for our y-intercepts, we set x equal to 0, solve for y. Be sure to, of course, write our answer as a coordinate pair. Now we don't need to worry too much about the y-intercepts when we're in slope-intercept form because it gives us the y-intercept, of course, in the equation, right? It gives us that y-intercept. All right. However, the x-intercept, if we can't find it easily graphically, we're going to have to find it algebraically. So let's look at what we have here. Graph the equations on the coordinate plane provided. State the x-intercept, y-intercept, and slope of the linear function. So first one, y equals 2/3 x minus 4. So looking at this equation right away, I know my slope is 2/3, my y-intercept is negative 4. So let's write both of those down. Slope 2/3, y-intercept 0, comma, negative 4. A slope of 2/3 would tell me up 2 over 3. Up 2 over 3 or down to left 3. Then I can connect my dots to draw my line. Do that right like so. And now do I need to use algebra to find my x-intercept for this one? No, I don't, because I can see my x-intercept is this point right here. That coordinate point would be the point 6, comma 0. Fantastic. All right, looking at letter B, y equals negative 2x minus 1. All right, so my slope is going to be -2. My y-intercept is going to be -1. So a slope of -2, y-intercept, I would write 0, -1. Now what does that slope tell me to do? Okay, down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, up 2, left 1, up 2, left 1, up 2, left 1. All right, and we can now connect our dots to graph our line. Now, if you notice, my x-intercept on this one isn't a nice coordinate pair. I don't actually get it here. So this is one where we might have to use algebra to solve for our x-intercept. So remember, to find our x-intercept, we change y to 0. So we will have 0 equals -2x minus 1. And then we just solve for x. So we add 1 to both sides. We'll get 1 equals -2x. Divide by -2, divide by -2. And we find here that x equals -1/2. I would write that as a coordinate pair of -1/2, 0. And if I look, yeah, that makes sense. -1/2 would be that point right about there. Fantastic. All right, letter C. Y equals 4x minus 2. 4x minus 2. My slope then would be 4. My y-intercept would be 0, -2. Let's graph it. -2 goes right there. My slope of 4 tells me up 4, right 1, up 4, right 1, or down 4, left 1. All right. And then I can connect my dots to graph my line. So I'm just going to connect those dots just like that. Tried to make it as straight as possible. All right, now if you notice here, I don't have a nice coordinate pair. So let's use our algebra again. So when I set x equal or y equal to 0, I would get 0 equals 4x minus 2. Add 2 to both sides, add 2, I would get 2 equals 4x. Divide by 4, divide by 4. 2 divided by 4 can be simplified to x equals 1/2. So my x-intercept here would be 1/2, 0, which, if I would have drawn a straight line, let's just give it another shot here. Hopefully I can go through all of these points now. That's a little bit better. It's not great. Oh well. Let's move on. As long as your line is close, we're going to be just fine. All right. If you have any questions over slope-intercept form, please raise your hand over anything we've done. Otherwise, we're going to move on to a new form, point-slope form. Now, point-slope form is a little different. Whereas slope-intercept told us the slope and intercept of the line, point-slope tells us the slope and a point on the line. So M still represents our slope in this formula, and x1, y1 represents a point on the line. So if I'm looking here, M is my slope, and then y minus y1 equals M times x minus x1. Well, x1 and y1 represent the point. So whatever numbers are there represent the point that we're on. All right, so we're going to start by just algebraically finding the x and y intercepts of the line. I'll do letter A together, and then I'll have you do B on your own. So looking at letter A, y minus 4 equals 2 times x plus 4. So to find my x-intercept, I set y equal to 0. So I would have 0 minus 4 equals 2 times x plus 4. All right, well, 0 minus 4 is -4. I need to distribute this 2 out. So I would have 2x plus 8. Need to subtract 8. -4 minus 8 would be -12 equals 2x. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. And I would find that x equals -6. So that would be the coordinate point, -6, 0. So that's my x-intercept. Now for my y-intercept, I set x equal to 0. So I would say y minus 4 equals 2 times 0 plus 4. Well, 0 plus 4 is just 4, so this is going to become y minus 4 equals 2 times 4. 2 times 4 is 8, so y minus 4 equals 8. Add 4 to both sides. 8 plus 4 is 12. So I would get the y-intercept of 0, 12. There we go. All right. Why don't you try letter B on your own? Go ahead and give it a shot. Go ahead and pause this video, and then try letter B. Try to find the x and y-intercepts from an equation in point-slope form. All right, let's see how we did. Y plus 1 equals 5/3 of x plus 2. So to find my x-intercept, I'll set y equal to 0. So I'll have 0 plus 1 equals, I'm going to go ahead and distribute this out. 5/3 of x, so that'd be 5 over 3x, and then plus 5 times 2 is 10, 3 times 1 is 3. So, looking at this now, I have 0 plus 1. You know, I really don't like these fractions. I'm going to multiply everything by 3 to get rid of these fractions. So when I do that, I'll have 3 equals 5x plus 10. I can subtract 10 from both sides. So I'll have negative 7 equals 5x. Divide by 5, divide by 5. And I find that x equals negative 7 over 5. As a coordinate point, negative 7/5, comma 0. Don't be afraid of fractions. Yeah, we can definitely get fractions here. All right, now for my y-intercept, I will set x equal to 0. So I'll have y plus 1 equals 5/3 times 0 plus 2. Now 0 plus 2 is just 2, so I'll have y plus 1 equals 5/3 times 2. Alright, so 5/3 times 2 is just 10/3. And then I can subtract 1. So I'm going to subtract 1 from here. As a fraction, that'd be 3 over 3, right? Alright, so I would get y equals 7 over 3. As a coordinate pair, write that as 0, comma 7/3. Check our work with those fractions on that one. Make sure we're understanding what's going on. And then let's move on here. So now we're going to combine everything that we've done. So we're going to find the x and y-intercepts. We're going to state the slope. We're going to state the point that they give us. We're going to graph it. We're going to do it all right? So let's do a and b together here. So looking at letter A, y plus 2 equals 3/2 the quantity of x plus 5. So I know that the slope that I have here is 3/2. I know that the point it goes through, remember, this is y1, this is x1, so it would be negative 5, comma, negative 2. Remember, we have to switch the sign from what's in there since it's subtracted in the formula. So it goes through the point, negative 5, comma, negative 2. And supposedly, I suppose we could go ahead and graph that now. So negative 5, negative 2 will be right here. A slope of 3/2 tells me up 3, right 2. Up 3, right 2. Up 3, right 2. That put me off the graph. So if I were to go ahead and connect these dots, oh goodness, straight lines please. All lines are straight. Here we go. There we go. I can see that I'm not crossing through any integers on the x and y axis. So to find my x and y intercepts, I'm going to need to do some algebra here. So let's do our x-intercept first. So to find the x-intercept, remember we set y equal to 0. So it'll be 0 plus 2 equals 3/2 of x plus 5. So that'd be 2 equals 3/2 x plus 3 times 5 is 15 over 2. I'm going to get rid of these fractions. I don't like it. Multiply both sides by 2. So I'll have 4 equals 3x plus 15. Subtract 15, subtract 15. 4 minus 15 would be negative 11 equals 3x. Divide by 3. And I find that x will be negative 11/3, comma 0, which is just under negative 4. And if I look at my line, yeah, that's pretty good. Or I guess it's just a little more than negative 4. It'd be that point right there. Very nice. Okay, now to find my y-intercept, I need to set x equal to 0. I'm going to do that on this graph here. So to find my y-intercept, I would say y plus 2 equals 3/2 of 0 plus 5. Alright, well 0 plus 5 is just 5, so I'll have y plus 2 equals 3/2 times 5. Let's see, 3/2 times 5 would be 15/2, so y plus 2 equals 15/2. When I subtract 2, that'd be subtracting 4 over 2, and I'll find that y equals 11/2 there. So that'd be the coordinate point 0, comma 11 over 2, which is 5.5, which if I look at my line, yeah, pretty close. Awesome. All right. Let's try another together. Let's look at letter B here. Y minus 3 equals negative 2 times the quantity x plus 2. So my slope, they give me right there, negative 2. My coordinate point would be negative 2, comma, positive 3. All right. So let's graph that. Negative 2, 3 would be right here. And my slope would tell me down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, or up 2, left 1. Draw my line, connect the dots, make it look as good as possible. There we go. All right, look in here. I see, oh, hey, my y-intercept is 0, negative 1. No algebra required. This one, however, doesn't go through an integer, so let's do this one algebraically. That would be my x-intercept. To find my x-intercept, I'm going to set y equal to 0, so I'll have 0 minus 3 equals negative 2 times x plus 2. So I'll have negative 3 equals negative 2x minus 4. Remember, we got to distribute that negative 2 into both of those. I'll add 4. Negative 3 plus 4 is 1 equals negative 2x. Divide by negative 2. Divide by negative 2, and I find that x equals negative 1/2. Of course, I would write that as a coordinate pair, negative 1/2 comma 0. And if I check my graph, negative 1/2, 0, sure enough, it looks like I nailed it. All right, let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, why don't you try letters C and D on your own? Okay, so go ahead and try C and D on your own, and then we'll see how we do. All right, let's see how we're doing here. Y minus 5 equals negative 4/5 times the quantity x plus 4. So my slope is going to be negative 4/5. The point it goes through is going to be negative 4, 5. All right, so let's go ahead and graph this. So negative 4, 5 would put me right here. Now this slope of negative 4 tells me down 4 and right 5. Down 4, right 5. All right, so looking at this point, I'm going to have to find my x and y-intercepts algebraically, it looks like. Looks like this one should be pretty close to 2. This one should be kind of close to 3. Hello. All right, so let's do it. So looking at letter C here, I'm going to start with my x-intercept. When I do that, I'll set y equal to 0, so I'll have 0 minus 5 equals negative 4/5 times the quantity x plus 4. So I'll have negative 5 equals negative 4/5 x. Let's see, that'd be minus 16 over 5, negative 4/5 times 4. I'm going to multiply everything by 5 to get rid of these fractions. When I do that, I would have negative 25 equals negative 4x minus 16. So let's add 16 to both sides. Add 16. I'm going to get negative 9 equals negative 4x. Divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4. Negative divided by negative gives me a positive, which will tell me that x equals positive 9 over 4. So that intercept would be 9/4, 0, which is just a little more than 2. Not bad. All right, now to find my y-intercept, I'm going to set x equal to 0. Let's see, let's find some space here. Let's try it here. So to find my y-intercept, I'll set x equal to 0. So say y minus 5 equals negative 4/5 times 0 plus 4. So y minus 5 is just not going to change yet, but 0 plus 4 is just 4. So what's negative 4/5 times 4? Well, that'd be negative 16/5. If I add 5 here, that'd be the same as adding 25/5. Negative 16 plus 25 is 9/5. So my answer here would be 0, 9/5. Fantastic. All right, looking at letter D. Y plus 1 equals 3 times the quantity x minus 2. So my slope is going to be 3. The point it goes through is going to be 2, negative 1. So let's graph that. 2, negative 1. A slope of 3 tells me 1, 2, 3 over 1. 1, 2, 3 over 1. Down 2, 3 over 1. Down 2, 3 over 1. Let's connect the dots. Not bad. All right. To find my x-intercept, set y equal to 0. So I will say that 0 plus 1 equals 3x minus 6 when I distribute that. I'm going to subtract the 6, add the 6, add the 6. So I'll have 7 equals 3x, divide by 3, and I find that x equals 7/3, which is just a little bit more than 2, and hey, sure enough, not bad. So 7/3, comma 0 there. To find my y-intercept, I simply set x equal to 0, so y plus 1 equals 3 times 0 minus 2. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And to get y all by itself, I'll subtract 1. So y is negative 7. 0, comma, negative 7. There we go. And if this graph was a little longer, I think I would see that that point does, in fact, go through 0, comma, negative 7. All right. What we're going to do now is we're going to rewrite the following equation in slope-intercept form. We're going to state the slope, the x-intercept, and the y-intercept. All right, so rewriting equations in slope-intercept form, remember that means we wanted to get it y equals mx plus b. The key here is we need y all by itself. So let's simplify everything we can and then get y all by itself. So I'm going to start by multiplying this out. So I'll have y minus 4 equals 3/5 x plus 9/5. Does that make sense? 3 times 3 is 9, 5 times 1 is 5. All right, now to get y all by itself, I need to add 4, which if my denominator is 5, that'd be the same as adding 20 over 5. All right, doing the same thing to both sides, and I would find that y equals 3/5 x plus 29/5. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and fill in this information. So my equation, y equals 3/5 x plus 29/5. My slope, of course, is 3/5. I can see that from both equations. I can see it here, and I can see it here, all right? Now, my x-intercept I'm going to come back to because my y-intercept, now I have very apparent, all right? My y-intercept is this point right here. So my y-intercept is going to be 0, comma, 29/5. My x-intercept, let's see here, for this x-intercept, let's use, it's probably easiest to use this original equation in point-slope form. So let's solve for my x-intercept over here. So I would have y equal to 0, so 0 minus 4 equals 3/5 x plus 9/5. We know that because we already multiplied it out. If I'm trying to get x all by itself, I'd subtract 9/5, subtract 9/5. Now negative 4 minus 9/5, well that would be negative 16 over, negative 20 over 5 if we're having a denominator of 5, minus 9 over 5, so that would give me negative 29 over 5 equals 3/5 of x. Now let's multiply both sides by 5. When I do that, notice what happens here. These will divide out, so I'm left with negative 29 equals 3x. Divide by 3, divide by 3, and I'll find that x equals negative 29/3. So as a graph, or as a coordinate pair, negative 29/3, comma, 0. All right. The key thing that I wanted you to realize is that this one line can be represented multiple ways. We could represent it as y minus 4 equals x plus 3, or we could represent it as y equals 3/5 x plus 29/5. They represent the same line. It's just these forms tell us different information. This one tells us the slope and a point that it goes through, while the one in slope-intercept form tells us the slope and the y-intercept. So depending on what information we want, we could get the equation in different forms. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to combine a couple of our skills here. We're going to write the equation of the line graph in slope-intercept form. So just given what they tell us here, we're going to figure out how to do this. Now, the key here is using our equation y equals mx plus b. All right, so how can we find our slope from the graph? Well, let's look at letter A. We need to find m and we need to find b. All right, now looking at letter A, I can see that my slope is down to right 3. So that tells me my slope right there is negative 2/3. Now, how can I find my y-intercept? It's not an integer, it goes through that point right there. Well, that's where using the points come in handy. So let's take a point, and you can use either one. I'm going to use this one. That's the point -1, 0. Well, remember, that's the same as x comma y. So let's use that in our equation for y equals mx plus b. So y, in this case, is 0 equals m, which I just found was -2/3, times x, which is -1, plus b. Does that make sense? I'm plugging in 0, my x here, 0, my y, and then -1, my x. That's supposed to change color. Come on, computer. -1, my x, and then I already found my slope. All right, so now that I've done that, let's go ahead and figure it out. So 0 will equal -2/3 times -1 would just turn into +2/3 plus b. And I would need to subtract 2/3, so I'll find that b equals -2/3. Now I have b all by itself. So what does that tell me? That tells me the equation of this line is y equals m, which we just found was -2/3, x plus, or in this case minus, b, which is -2/3. Fantastic. All right, let's try one more together, then I'll have you try a couple on your own. Let's look at letter b. All right, so same idea here. I need to find my slope and my y-intercept. I can see just by looking at the graph, I go up 1 over 2. So this slope is up 1 over 2, 1/2. All right, now I need to pick a coordinate point. Let's use this one. So this will be the point 1, -2. And that's going to be my x and my y. So I'm going to plug that into this equation, y equals mx plus b. So y, -2 equals m, 1/2 times x, 1 plus b. So -2 equals 1/2 times 1 is just 1/2 plus b. I would need to subtract 1/2, subtract 1/2. -2 is -4, so this will become -5/2 equals b. So that means my equation, y equals 1/2 x minus 5/2. All right, why don't you try a couple on your own? Go ahead and try C and D. Go ahead and try C and D on your own. Pause the video, and then we will check that together. C and D. All right, let's look at what we're looking at here. So if I'm looking at my slope, I see that my slope goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down and over 2. So that tells me my m is -6 over 2. Which is actually the same as m equals -3, right? -6 divided by 2 is just -3. So let's see if there's another point I can add in here. 1, 2, 3. Oh, this one here. 1, but that still doesn't show me my y-intercept. It does give me a point I can work from, though. That'd be an easy one. 1, 2, 3. This would be -3, 0. All right, so let's use that point as my x and y. So y, 0, equals m, -3, times x, -3, plus b. Well, negative times a negative will give me a positive, 9 plus b. To get b all by itself, I just subtract 9, and I'd find that b equals -9, meaning my equation would be y equals -3x minus 9. Fantastic. All right, looking at letter D. All right, so let's see if we can't find the slope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up. 1, 2, 3, 4 over. So m would be 6 over 4, which reduces to 3/2. Let's see if that checks out. If I go up 1, 2, 3 over 2, sure enough, that puts me there. And that gives me a nice point to work with, 1, 0. All right, so let's use that as my x and y. So I would say 0 equals m, 3/2, x, 1 plus b. So 0 equals 3/2 plus b. To get b all by itself, I just subtract 3/2. 0 minus 3/2 is just -3/2. So b equals -3 over 2. All right, so if b equals -3/2, that means my equation is y equals 3/2 x minus 3/2. And that's C and D. Raise your hand if we have any questions, or if you're not sure if you did it right. If you used a different process but still got the same answer, that's totally fine, all right? No worries there. Let's go ahead and move on to E and F. Why don't you try these on your own? Go ahead and pause the video, give them a shot, and then we will check them together. All right, let's go ahead and see how we did here. So looking at letter E, I'm going to start with my slope. I'm going to see how far up I need to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, over 1, 2, 3. So my slope is 4/3. I can't simplify that. I have this point here. That's 1, 1. So that's my x and y. So I'll say y, 1 equals m 4/3 times x, 1 plus b. So 4/3 times 1 is just 4/3. To get b all by itself, I'd subtract 4/3. 1 minus 4/3 is 3/3 minus 4/3, which will just give me negative 1/3. So that means my equation would be y equals 4/3 x minus 1/3. All right, looking at letter F. Up 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4. So that tells me my slope is 1/4. And I have this coordinate point here, nice and easy, 1, 0. So that means 0, x and y, so y, 0 equals m 1/4 x 1 plus b. 1/4 times 1 is just 1/4, and to get b all by itself, I would subtract 1/4. 0 minus 1/4 would just give me negative 1/4. So I find that my equation would be y equals 1/4 x minus 1/4. Fantastic. And that's going to be where we stop today. Let me know if you have any questions. Happy to help. Otherwise, go ahead and look at that, check for understanding, see how we're doing. All right. And this is Mr. Carter signing off. Hope you have fun. I'll see you next time.